we've got climate change that is apparently, according to some scientists, causing a mass extinction event, the sixth one in Earth's history. So now look, let me quote those guys for you, and then we'll show you some of the stats about the warming oceans and how many species we've lost. And then you might begin to go, oh, well, okay, I didn't get extinct, but maybe there's other things on the planet, and maybe those things might affect me a lot. So first, let me go to Andrea Germanos, wrote this on Common Dreams, where she's quoting Robert Cowie, who's a bioscientist at a research center. So he writes in about a report that they did. This is a fact. Denying it is simply flying in the face of the mountain of data that is rapidly accumulating. And there is no longer room for skepticism, wondering whether it is really happening. We cannot help but feel that humanity is allowing a probable sixth mass extinction to unfold. And it is pie in the sky to think that this situation will change in any major way. Now, Nina, as I see that, and you've got a number of scientists, by the way, from across the world that participated in this paper, saying you guys aren't getting it. It's a mass extinction event. We've already lost thousands of species, and we're gonna lose more. And it's happening right now. And it's coming, and it's going to destroy literally life on Earth, certainly for humans. It's like the movie Don't Look Up, which people are like, oh yeah, that's haha, but that wouldn't really happen, right? No, but it is happening. That's why they made the movie. It's an analogy. And all the scientists are saying it's mass extinction. And the band marches on, Nina. So now I ask you the impossible question. How do you stop that band from marching on and fix this mess?
Yeah, Cenk, I'm gonna have to cross Don't Look Up off my list. I literally had it down there. We're both on the same wavelength. I mean, that would be just a required movie. You know, as a professor, I had required reading, a required viewing of certain documentaries. This right here, Don't Look Up, would be absolutely required watching. I mean, one of the things that the United States can do, and you know, we invest a lot of time in war and war making and talking about wars and rumors of wars. How about the president of the United States, the leader of the free world, invest? And that's not just this president, but even past presidents. Can you imagine using that bully pulpit to, number one, help Americans understand the impact of this crisis and the impact that we have on it, and the entire ecosystem is depending on us to get this right, but also how we can bring world leaders together. This is not just about the usual, the Paris Accord and all of that. This is 9/11, the fierce urgency of now, to quote the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., about what must be done to turn the tide on this. Also, during the New Deal era, there was something called the Civilian Conservation Corps. I believe I have that right. I would create something similar to that, to utilize that force of everyday citizens in this country to go all around this country, helping to educate people about how serious this is and how to connect what is happening to the environment to everyday reality, that there are pull and push and pull factors, you know, from people, immigrants, you know, to people trying to come over to this country because of Mother Nature, tornadoes, all of that kind of stuff. And what can we do to understand that we must turn the tide? But this is something that Americans cannot do alone. We need a worldwide movement. So how about bring world leaders together in a very meaningful way, not just coming together and talking the talk, but a very meaningful way to push back on not climate chaos and the extinction of humankind.
Yeah. So now I'm going to make the situation a little worse, and then ask you for more potential solutions. Okay. So first of all, the oceans are in disastrous shape. Since the late 1980s, Earth's oceans warmed at a rate 8 times faster than in the preceding decades. So that was another report that recently came out, covered by the Washington Post in that case. So they're warming at 8 times faster rate. We're in a world of trouble. There was these so-called blobs, they refer to them as. One happened actually just last year in 2021 in the North Pacific. But one happened in 2014 and 2016, and it wiped out a certain species in the ocean. When it did, that reverberated across the food chain until we had a shortage of fish to eat because of climate change affecting one small part of the globe in the ocean, and it really threw us for a giant loop across the planet. That's just the appetizer. Sorry for mixing up the food analogies, but like that is, we're playing with fire here in a lot of ways, literally.
Literally, yeah.
A couple of years ago, we had those 5 major hurricanes in the Atlantic at the same time. These are not coincidences. The scientists are saying it's the warmer weather in the ocean it creates more extreme weather events. By the way, the warm weather in the Gulf of Mexico is what created the 30 tornadoes that ripped through the middle of the country recently and killed all those people. 30 tornadoes, especially in this season, it's the wrong season for tornadoes. People are like, what in the world is going on? What's going on is climate change. Will you, for God's sake, look up, listen to the scientists. So now, Nina, having gone through all of that urgency, but if you were in charge and you were the president, everybody would scream, no, don't touch my gas. I don't want oil prices to go up. That's gonna affect my car. I got a gas car, I don't have an electric car. I couldn't afford an electric car, right? And they're gonna use the angst of those people and their worries about their economic conditions to continue to drill and get oil and gas and fossil fuels out. Now, of course, the people that benefit the most are the executives of those companies and the politicians that they fund. But people will have that anxiety. So how in the world do we push past that to actually pass legislation that'll make a difference?
And remember, the wealthiest, they just gonna go up in space. You know,
but they're saying it. By the way, you know, Nina, you say it, but Elon Musk says that he partly built SpaceX to escape the planet. How about we save the planet instead of escaping?
Hello, somebody. How about that? No, Jim, a very important point that I had written down in my notes too is that how do we push regulatory policy and prepare this nation and again this world for the fact that we cannot continue to depend on coal. But instead of doing that, this administration and previous administrations are still doing the drill, baby, drill. We have got to help the citizens of this world understand that we cannot continue this course, and the United States can certainly go a long way to be the #1 voice in pushing back on this. We need a just transition for our sisters and brothers and family and friends who are in the coal industry. Let's go and put them on the other side of that equation with wind and solar and other natural energy sources. But we got to listen, America. Look, fireside chat time, baby. Fireside chat in a whole different way in the 21st century about the sacrifices that each and every one of us must make. Because what we are doing is not only sentencing ourselves to this climate chaos that we are enduring in our time, we're doing it to our children and our children's children. They are the ones that are going to bear the greatest brunt of this unless we act. And that is why, Jink, my last point on this point, to me, one of the major ways to combat this is to make sure that everybody understands that they have a role to play literally and give people things to do. And then on the regulatory side, make sure that these companies know no more. This is it. But we cannot continue to give them permits, allow them to drill, and think that, you know, they're not going to change their behavior without government forcing them to do that.
You know, you said fireside chat, and it triggered a thought for me based on previous What Would Nina Do's. So a press conference where you have a coal miner on one side and you have a guy that is working to pick in solar energy. And imagine if Biden did this, right? And you ask the coal miner how much he makes. You ask the guy working putting up solar panels how much he makes. We already know the answer. The guys putting up the solar panels make more. The coal miner makes less. oftentimes significantly less, okay? And then you say, hey, now I got a plan to take Bob over here, who's the coal miner, and move you over here to the solar panel provider, right? And then Bob, you'd make maybe 50% more. Are you interested in that? My guess is Bob's like, how do I get there? How do I get there? Well, we passed this bill and that's how you get there, right? And by the way, now people that work in renewable energies in the country is a much greater number by an order of magnitude than the coal miners. That's a much bigger part of our economy and our labor force, but you never hear about them because the coal miners are used as political props to back up the executives' profits, right? So if they're gonna use them in a wrong way, why not actually show people the truth by having both of them out there?
Yeah, I love that idea. Thing, nothing like a good show and tell. And you talk about campaign for our life. I mean, this is literally a campaign to save Mother Earth, and we can't delay. We just cannot delay a moment longer. And shout out to Sunrise Movement and other of the organization, Naomi Klein, others out there who are fighting so hard to sound the alarm, but you need something on a large scale to shake people out of their slumber and then utilize local folks. And you know how many people we can put to work just by, you know how we educate people about the census? Imagine if we hired people to go all across this country in their communities to talk about climate chaos in a way that is personal.
Yeah, that's so true. And the more we talk about it, the more I think the answer is as usual media. So if Biden did a press conference and he had a point counterpoint and he brought on one of the renowned scientists in the world and said, okay, have thousands of species actually gone extinct? Yes. Why have they gone extinct? Because of the warming. And they explain. So is life on Earth in mortal danger? Yes. And have everybody hear that. Counterpoint, and obviously in this case, we're suggesting that this is a media opportunity. It's not a real debate, right? But I would have the counterpoint person say, hey, on the other hand, ExxonMobil CEO, his salary might go from $48 million to $42 million. Wow, I see. Point, counterpoint. We might all die, but that guy might make a couple $1 million less. And so, and Nina, I say that because it brings us back to the same point we started with, which is don't look up. Like, you watch that movie, and a lot of the movie critics were like, it's too absurd. It's too absurd. Like, yeah, I get it. That's kind of what we're doing. We get the analogy, but it's not really what we're doing. No, it really is what we're doing.
No, it is until it isn't. You know, I mean, they hit the nail, so many nails on the head with that movie, and it is resonating, as we can see, by people's response to it. So it's only the talking heads and the people who cannot suspend their disbelief that want to lull us into a sense of security. We cannot be lulled into a sense of security when it comes to this, because the facts are overwhelmingly clear. And only all that we love is on the line. You know, Cenk, I say that sometimes about a whole host of issues. This one, literally, only all that we love, everything that we love is on the line, unless we as a human species turn this around and do it quickly. We don't have a whole lot of time to do it. This is like yesterday. So for every other thing that the president says, every other word out of his mouth should be about climate chaos and what this country is going to do to stem the tide and bringing together the other world leaders. For a change, can we come together and do something that is positive for humankind and all living kind? Because now this is not just about human beings. We will impact every other living species on this planet with either our action or our inaction. It's a campaign, Cenk. Media, like you said, but this is can you imagine, you got me, this is a campaign, though.
Yep. And if you don't do it, we're not gonna act, and the situation is dire. We need a President Turner show and tell immediately. It's just a hypothetical, everybody. Calm down, mainstream media.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.